Hi guys, welcome back. Let me take a second here to explain to you what I'm trying to do. There's a million toy reviewing channels out there and so many toys to review. But this channel is not just about reviews, it's about toy photography. You see, I'm a wedding photographer and my love for these figures isn't just because they look really great, it's because I want to take pictures of them. That's what I do, that's what I'm gonna show you. So far, I've only been showing you the reviews and just a snippet here and there about photos, but soon I am going to have behind the scenes tutorials on how I take pictures. The same way I take my wedding photos and show people how I do it, it's not to show you that this is the way to do it, but rather that's the way I do it. So I'm going to show you the way I do it and hopefully you can learn something from it. But right now, let's look at the figure. This is how he looks inside the package. I really appreciate how you can see the figure in the package to see if you want to get the figure, you know? Apocalypse was always one of my favorite villains, but it's difficult for me to nail down how I feel about this figure. This figure was inspired by my all-time favorite cartoon, the X-Men series back in the 90s. So if you judge how this figure looks based on how Apocalypse looked in that cartoon, then this figure did a phenomenal job. I mean, really great. It looks like that. But, like I'll explain further, that's not exactly what I wanted from this figure. He's 8 inches tall. Further down the video, I'll compare him to NIKKOR, McFarlane. Just stick around and you'll see how he scales. So I know that I'm one of 1,000 toy reviewers reviewing this toy, I get it. But I thought that if I made a channel that showed you in much better detail how the figures look, then it would be something else, something different than what other people were giving you, right? I am using my wedding photography gear here to show you so close the details of this figure and every figure that I review. I'm trying to give you the best production values so that I'm not just holding the figure with a GoPro or phone recording me. I'm trying to show you the details. Look at the detail in his arm, his hand right there. I love that. The problem is that there aren't enough textures on this figure for me. Yes, it looks like the figure that would come out of the X-Men series. He looks like that. He looks like a cartoon would, but I just wish it had more detail, more wash to the paint so that the textures, whatever textures it does have, would show more. I wish it had a little bit of dry brushing. His face here, the sculpt, is my favorite. You can look at his face right here really closely and see the details in his face and the wash that they put over it so that you can see all those details. See, right here is a perfect example. I wish there was a little definition in his chest. It would have been nice to see a little bit more detail. If we can get a vein, why can't we get more definition in his chest? Or his abs for that matter. The product photography on the retro card showed the abs. Why couldn't we get those abs? The only reason I'm thinking is because that's not the way it was in the cartoon, and maybe it was cheaper to make it this way. That's just like a cop-out, right? Like, we made it like the cartoon, so we didn't put the abs. I'm thinking it was just because to save on cost. I'm showing you such extreme details here. Look, I'm so close to his legs, his knees. You can see the detail, but you can also see how they missed an opportunity to maybe put a little bit more shading in here to make those details pop a bit, right? Check out those tubes right there. They go into his back and into his arm. They look nice, but they are one solid color. Would it have been that difficult to add a little bit of shading to this to make it pop? Don't let that shading there fool you. That's not paint. That's from my light. I'm trying to show you the details by lighting this figure in a certain way. It does have some details. I'm not saying it has none, but it could have a lot more. And it definitely could have more shading. So be the judge for yourself because I'm giving you such extreme close-ups of how this figure looks. Having said all that, I don't really know where I can get another Apocalypse that would articulate well enough for me to take photos of. This guy does a decent job. I just recently ordered the Apocalypse from the Marvel Select, which I know they don't tend to articulate really well, but they tend to look really nice. So I'm hoping it articulates good enough that I can take some really cool pictures with it. But with this figure right here, I feel like I can do a lot. And so I'll show you a behind the scenes video of that pretty soon, so you can see what you can accomplish even with something like an iPhone. Although I won't be using an iPhone, granted, I will be using my gear that I use to take wedding photos, but you'll get behind the scenes on how I do it, and hopefully you enjoy that too. Okay, so I've shown you enough details. Now let me show you his accessories. These are his open hands, which have a lot of detail. They look really nice. So he's got another pair of hands. He's got his closed fisted hands, so he'll punch you with those. Those are really nice too, I think. I mean, check out that detail on that hand. That's nice. I just really, like I said before, I wish it had a little bit of shading. He's also got a hand cannon, which you'll have to remove one of his hands to put in there. It's nice, I like it, and this is right from the animated series. Okay, so here's his head, all the way up, as far up as it goes. I'm trying to show it to you this way instead of with an iPhone with my hairy hands moving his head up and down. Look, that's how far it goes down. That really is too far, I think. He's like hiding. His arms go up that much. That's not that high, but I guess it's high enough. I'm not sure, but they go up that high. They swivel nicely like this, so you do have movement. You do have opportunities that you can use all this movement to take really great photos. His wrist swivels, it's there. You can do more with that as well. Elbows can bend around that much. You really can't expect that much from this figure. I mean, look how bulky he is. This is good enough, I think. Apocalypse is no Spider-Man, so he can't move the way he does. But he can do this. That's pretty reasonable, I think, for such a big character. His knees can bend around that much, which is pretty good. I mean, how much more do you want it to bend, right? Here he is next to the Hulk from Marvel Select. This may not scale that well. I always pictured Apocalypse being huge, especially he can grow. So I'm not sure about that, but here he is against the Joker, Titan Joker from McFarlane. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this either, so it doesn't scale that well. Hudson, okay, I can kind of see this, but I always pictured Apocalypse being a bigger kind of guy, and Hudson is his old gargoyle, so I actually don't like this either. So what do you guys think? Here he is against the Ghost Rider from Marvel Legends, which Apocalypse is from Marvel Legends, so maybe this is okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In case you didn't notice, what I'm trying to show you again is very highly detailed viewings of each character, what my opinion is, but mostly what it does, so you can make your decision as to whether or not you want to buy the figure. I am going to show you more in-depth videos. I hope that you stick around. If you like taking photos of your toys, then I think you'll really like this channel because you'll learn a lot, I think. So stick around and subscribe, please.
Destroyed everything!